Hello and welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. Stay with us for all the news you need to follow this Monday morning. Coming up ahead, is there trouble in the JDU-BJP alliance? Also, all the latest from the Commonwealth Games, more medals. Let's take a look at the headlines we're tracking. Tensions scale up in the JDU-BJP alliance after RCP Singh quits. The JDU calls a meeting of all legislators and MPs on Tuesday. Days after a politician, Shrikant Tyagi, who claimed to be associated with the BJP, abused and pushed a woman in a Noida society, his supporters mobbed the apartment complex looking for the woman. Several former Supreme Court and High Court judges, former generals and Union Home Secretaries, part of a detailed report which has slammed the human rights situation in Kashmir and asked for statehood to be restored. Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairman Venkaiah Naidu will be given a farewell in the House today. The Prime Minister will attend. And a medal rush for India at the Commonwealth Games. Achanta Sharath and Shrija Akula win table tennis gold, 3 boxing golds. But India lost to Australia and the women's cricket finals win a silver. Well, let's get to our top story now. And Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has called a meeting of all Janata Dal United MLAs and MPs on Tuesday, leading to speculation about his growing friction with the BJP, which may come to a head. Chief among the many reasons why Nitish is upset with the BJP has been the BJP-led central government's offer of token representation to allies as union ministers. After the bitter resignation of RPC Singh, the JDU president alleged that another Chirag model was being prepared to orchestrate the downfall of the party. Nitish Kumar, citing health reasons, had also stayed away from a meeting of the government think tank Niti Aayog, which was chaired by the Prime Minister. Meanwhile, RCP Singh, who quit the party, has accused Nitish of pettiness because of the charges now being made against him.
An angry RCP Singh, a day after resigning from the primary membership of the JDU, Singh was in no mood to spare his former political boss Nitish Kumar, whom he accused of political pettiness for dragging his family members into a political fight.
पॉलिटिकल लड़ाई लड़ी चलिए, फील्ड में चलिए, जहां भी चलना चलिए कि मैं देख रहा था 1.25 साल से क्या चल रहा है, उसके बाद ठीक है मेरा टिकट काट दिया, आपका पॉलिटिकल डिसीजन है.
Nitish, realizing the damage caused by the bitter episode, got top party leaders to counter Singh's charges, which followed after he said he quit the JDU because he was offered a union cabinet berth due to an understanding between Nitish Kumar and Amit Shah.
अभी JDU मंत्रिमंडल में काहे के लिए हम शामिल हो? क्या जरूरत है? किस बात की आवश्यकता है? 2019 में माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने फैसला किया था कि हम सरकार में शामिल नहीं होंगे. हमारी पार्टी आज उस स्टैंड पर कायम है माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के 2019 के निर्णय पर.
Amid this rift between alliance partners, Nitish stayed away from the PM's Niti Aayog meeting in Delhi on health grounds, even though he attended 2 back-to-back government functions in Patna. He has now called a meeting of all legislators and MPs with Manish Kumar, Janata Singh for NDTV.
Let's go across to Alok now for more. Alok, what is the reason given for this meeting that has been called?
Well, there has been several reasons. They haven't actually made after the meeting. That stakeholders are likely to have meetings with their legislative parties either today or tomorrow. The Janata Dal United is likely to hold this meeting tomorrow. The things have been there by Manish.
Right. Well, we'll try and go back to Alok in a bit for more updates. But clearly tensions growing between the JDU and the BJP, and now a meeting called of all the MLAs and MPs of the JDU. News now from Rajasthan, where there was a stampede in the monthly fair of Baba Sham that takes place in Khatoshyamji in Rajasthan. Now, what happened this morning was large crowds had collected outside the temple. Today is Ekadashi, or the 11th day in the lunar calendar, and a woman fainted in the crowd, which then led to people falling on her. A stampede broke out at the entrance at around 5 a.m. and now 3 women have died in that stampede that broke out. Several other devotees were also injured. 2 injured were referred to Jaipur and are believed to be out of danger. Police officials say the situation is now under control. So very tragic, the stampede breaking out this morning at the entrance of the temple. Let's go across to Harsha now for more. And Harsha, give us more details. And tragic that 3 women have died.
Yes, absolutely, Gargi. Well, this is Ekadashi. It's considered a very auspicious day in the month of Sawan. So a large number of crowd had in fact gathered outside the Khatu Shamji temple in Sikar. And as soon as the gates of the temple were opened, as sometimes it happens, they tried to rush in. And that's what actually caused a stampede just outside the gates of the temple. One lady, I just spoke to the police SP, Kumar, Rashtradeep, a little while back. And he's told me that one lady apparently fell when the rush happened, and she apparently fainted. And it's because of her falling and fainting that the others also then fell behind her. And in this unfortunate incident, 3 women died because of the stampede, and 2 others have been injured. They have been moved to Jaipur, I have been told. And the police SP informed me that they are believed to be out of danger. They have been previously injured, but they are believed to be out of danger. Also, the temple darshan is still going on, and the situation now is under control. This incident happened at 5 a.m. this morning.
All right, Harsha, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. In other news, the Rajya Sabha will bid farewell to Vice President Venkaiah Naidu today before he demits office on Wednesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will join Rajya Sabha MPs who will make farewell speeches in the upper house. Later in the evening, a farewell function will be held in the Parliament Library, where a memento will be presented to the outgoing Vice President of India. Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman will make a farewell address as well at this function. And Vice President-elect Jagdeep Dhankar met Venkaiah Naidu yesterday evening before Dhankar takes oath as the 14th Vice President of India a day after. Now, days after a politician abused and pushed a woman on camera at a residential complex in Noida, the man's supporters now turned up at the housing complex shouting slogans and asking for the address of the woman who was seen challenging Shrikant Tyagi. The accused had claimed he's a member of the BJP's Kisan Morcha and had even posted photographs of himself with senior BJP leaders. However, the BJP has said he is not associated with them. The Noida District Magistrate and the Noida Police Chief went to the residential complex and met with the residents. The District Magistrate said the Noida administration will attach Tyagi's properties. Earlier, residents at the Housing Society, angry at the ruckus being created by Tyagi supporters, also came out in large numbers and protested against the police for not taking action. In fact, in a video shot on mobile, the police standing between the residents and the slogan-shouting supporters of Tyagi are seen trying to control the situation. Later, a Member of Parliament, Mahesh Sharma, was also there. Let's just listen into what he said.
आप पूछिए उनके कमिश्नर से। मैंने जब कुमार को फोन किया, जब रणजीत को, तब यहाँ पुलिस आई है। मेरे जिलाध्यक्ष हम यहाँ पर हैं। हमें शर्मिंदगी महसूस हो रही है ये कहते हुए हमारी सरकार। पता करिए उनसे कि 15 लड़के कैसे इस सोसाइटी में अपनी जीत देंगे। इससे बड़ी शर्म की बात नहीं हो सकती। जो स्थिति बनी है, उस स्थिति में हमने गृह सचिव जी को, मनीष अवस्थी जी को अवगत कराया है, पुलिस अधिकारियों को वार्न किया है कि कल ही ये घटना हुई है। इस तरह से अवांछित लोगों का इस सोसाइटी के अंदर घुसना उचित नहीं था और कहीं ना कहीं पुलिस की व्यवस्था में जो कमी रही है, उस पुलिस की कमी को मुझे पूरा विश्वास है। प्रदेश में कोई भी गुंडागर्दी नहीं कर पाएगा। योगी जी
48 घंटे भी पूरे होने वाले हैं।
48 घंटे का समय हमने दिया है, उसका कल तक का समय पूरा हो जाने दीजिए, तब तक हम
पीड़ित से क्या कुछ बात हुई? पीड़ित से प्रोटेक्शन की बात हो रही है।
पुलिस प्रोटेक्शन हमने अभी मांग ली है, 2 घंटे के अंदर उनको पुलिस प्रोटेक्शन मिल जाएगी।
All right, an angry Mahesh Sharma there after that incident took place in the Noida society. Now, in other news, several retired judges of the Supreme Court, High Courts and former generals and Union Home Secretaries are all part of a report that has slammed the human rights situation in Kashmir, saying that Kashmir has taken a new turn for the worse. The report says there has been a decline in civilian security after 3 years of LG rule. After 3 years of the Lieutenant Governor's rule, civilian security has taken a turn for the worse. The abuse of the sedition and anti-terror laws such as UAPA and PSA against activists and journalists continues. The hype around the film, The Kashmir Files, have rendered punches and pundits more vulnerable. The report has recommended to pay heed to the Supreme Court strictures regarding the vicious cycle of repeated arrests to free journalists, restore statehood to Jammu and Kashmir as promised, and that vulnerable Kashmiri Pandit employees should be relocated to relatively safer locations within the valley. Now, demands for justice for Mandeep are gaining strength in her hometown. Mandeep Kaur, a 30-year-old woman from UP who took her own life in the US on August 4th. This after detailing her domestic abuse at the hands of her husband in a video. Mandeep Kaur's video talks about the domestic abuse and it's viral, and she also says that he used to target her because she gave birth to daughters and he wanted a son. The family in UP says they went to the police once, but that she chose to give her husband another chance.
We want justice. The only demand of Mandeep Kaur's father, days after his daughter died by suicide in New York, following a devastating video of her being beaten brutally, allegedly by husband Rajnoth Beer, for giving birth to 2 daughters and no sons.
थी मेरे को हार्ट प्रॉब्लम भी यार, मैं बीपी भी हाई रहता, डॉक्टर ने उनको बोल रखा था इनको टेंशन नहीं देनी, इसलिए मुझे कुछ ज़्यादा बोलती नहीं थी। सबसे हाथ जोड़ के कहते हैं कि हमारी मदद कीजिए, आज हमारी बिटिया गई, कल कोई दूसरी बिटिया ना जाए।
मैनू मरन ते मजबूर कर देता।
In a heart-wrenching video, now gone viral, Mandeep said, after 8 years of abuse, she couldn't take the humiliation anymore. Daddy, I'm going to die. Please forgive me, she says, alleging that her husband and in-laws forced her to die.
मैं मरन चली है डैडी, मैनू माफ कर दियो।
जब पता चला कि भाई उनकी बहू नहीं रही तो गांव के नाते आदमी अफसोस करने के लिए भी आता है या फोन करता है, तो ये उसी दिन से यहाँ पे नहीं है, घर पे ताला लगा हुआ है।
Mandeep alleged that her in-laws did nothing to deter their son from humiliating her. In fact, they encouraged the violence. So we tried reaching out to Mandeep's in-laws, but we are told that they are absconding ever since Mandeep's videos surfaced online.
मनदीप के साथ बहुत अत्याचार किया उसके हस्बैंड के द्वारा, उसकी मतलब सास ससुर सभी की तरफ से, क्योंकि उसे परेशान करते थे क्योंकि उसकी 2 बेटियां थी। वो चाहते थे कि उसके बेटा हो। वो अपने बेटे को बोलते रहते थे ये लड़कियां को जन्म दे सकती है, बस इसके लड़का नहीं होगा, ये है वो है।
As justice for Mandeep continues to trend on Twitter, the long-drawn debate on marital stigmas and treatment of NRI wives has been reopened, with protests by the community at New York's Richmond Hill.
उस हत्यारे के पास हम नहीं चाहते कि बेटियां रुके। जब इतना क्रिमिनल माइंडेड आदमी है वो, कि इतनी अत्याचार किया उसने, इतना कुछ किया, तो वो बेटियां कहाँ से संभालेगा?
An FIR has been filed for abetment to suicide and under the Dowry Act at Najibabad police station in Uttar Pradesh at Mandeep's ancestral village.
काफी समय से वो न्यूयॉर्क में रह रही थी, तो किस प्रकार से प्रताड़ित करते थे, क्या जरिया था, मोबाइल था या आना जाना था, वो जैसे साक्ष्य मिलेंगे उसके आधार पर कार्रवाई होगी।
While the Indian consulate in New York has promised all help, the Najibabad MLA is yet to visit the family.
मेरी बेटी का हमें हक मिलना चाहिए। मैं खुद ही अपने हाथ से अपनी बेटी का जो कुछ करना है, अंतिम संस्कार मैं खुद ही करूं, अपने हाथ से अपने सामने अपनी बेटी का चेहरा देखूं। हम यही भारत सरकार से मांग करते हैं, हम और कुछ नहीं मांगते।
The family's demand is simple. They want the custody of Mandeep's 2 little daughters and also their right to perform her last rites. This unfortunate incident has drawn the country's attention to the trauma that the women in the Indian diaspora often have to face. In Mandeep's core village, with camera person Ashok Mahale, Vedant for NDTV.
News now from Uttar Pradesh, where a Samajwadi Party leader's car was hit by a truck last night and then it was dragged for more than 500 meters. There you can see the car being hit and dragged by that truck and people running behind the vehicle. The SP leader miraculously was not injured in this. The police say the truck driver from Etawah has now been arrested and investigation is underway. All right, with that, time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, we'll get you the latest on the tensions between the JDU and the BJP. Stay with us. Welcome back. ISRO's historic mission with the maiden liftoff of its small lift launch vehicle carrying a student satellite and an Earth observation satellite ran into trouble on Sunday morning. Two satellites that were on board the first flight of the ISRO's new rocket got placed in an unstable orbit and are no longer usable, the space agency said. The update on the status of the mission came hours after it experienced data loss in the final phase of the flight.
1, 0.
This was meant to be the start of a new series of missions for ISRO on board a brand new rocket, the SSLV, or small-scale launch vehicle. The blast-off from Sriharikota seemed perfect, but minutes later it was clear that something was wrong. Worried scientists peered into their consoles. Data of the rocket's flight parameters showed this: a key system called the Velocity Trimming Module, which helps insert the satellites into the correct orbit, had fired for just 0.1 seconds before shutting down. And about 8 minutes into the flight, this wobble was seen on the flight parameters board. While the satellites were released, and we could see this from video sent back, the news was not good.
We had in the terminal phase of the mission some data loss is occurring, and we are analyzing the data, and we will come back on the status of the satellites and as well as the vehicle performance soon. So until then, please bear with us.
A few hours later, ISRO tweeted out an official explanation. The SSLV rocket had placed the satellites into the wrong elliptical orbit, but they've identified the root of the error.
Subsequently noticed an anomaly in the placement of the satellites in the orbit. The satellites were placed in an elliptical orbit in place of a circular orbit. So when you place satellites in such an orbit, the orbit will not stay for a long time. Due to atmospheric drag, the satellites will come down, and the satellites have already come down from that orbit and they are no longer usable.
On board the SSLV were two satellites, an Earth observation satellite and a second satellite called the Azadi Sat, made by 750 girl students at 75 rural government schools. The 8-kilogram satellite was meant to celebrate India's 75th anniversary of independence. ISRO was out with its explanation of what went wrong within hours of the launch, and they say that they'll have another SSLV rocket out soon. Now this is crucial as ISRO aims to launch missions using this relatively low-cost rocket to place satellites in low Earth orbit, a big market opportunity. Vishnu Shom for NDTV.
All right, with that, time for us to slip into a short break. More news updates on the other side. Stay with us. News now from Rajasthan, where there was a stampede this morning. This was at the monthly fair of the Baba Sham in the Khatu Shyamji temple in Rajasthan. Large crowds had collected early in the morning as today is Ekadashi, or the 11th day in the lunar calendar, and one woman then fainted as the gates of the temple opened, and this led to people falling on her. The stampede then broke out at the entrance. This was at 5 a.m. 3 women have died in this stampede, and several other devotees have been injured. Earlier spoke to Harsha for more details.
This is Ekadashi. It's considered a very auspicious day in the month of Sawan. So a large number of crowd had in fact gathered outside the Khatu Shyamji temple in Sikar. And as soon as the gates of the temple were open, as sometimes it happens, they tried to rush in. And that's what actually caused a stampede just outside the gates of the temple. One lady, I just spoke to the police SP, Kumar, Rashtradeep, a little while back, and he's told me that one lady apparently fell when the rush happened, and she apparently fainted, and it's because of her falling and fainting that the others also then fell behind her. And in this unfortunate incident, 3 women died because of the stampede, and 2 others have been injured. They have been moved to Jaipur, I have been told. And the police SP informed me that they are believed to be out of danger. They have been previously injured, but they are believed to be out of danger. Also, the temple darshan is still going on, and the situation now is under control. This incident happened at 5 a.m. this morning.
The Rajya Sabha will today bid farewell to Vice President Venkaiah Naidu before he demits office on Wednesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will join Rajya Sabha MPs who will make farewell speeches in the upper house, and later in the evening a farewell function will be held in the Parliament Library, where a memento will be presented to him. Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman will make a farewell address at this function. Vice President-elect Jagdeep Dhankar met Venkaiah Naidu yesterday evening before Dhankar takes oath as the 14th Vice President. Days after a politician abused and pushed a woman on camera at a residential complex in Noida, the man's supporters then turned up at the housing complex, shouting slogans and demanding the address of the woman. The accused, Shrikant Tyagi, had claimed he's a member of the BJP's Kisan Morcha, had posted photos of him with senior BJP leaders. However, the BJP said he's not associated with them. Yesterday evening, a visibly upset Noida MP and BJP leader Mahesh Sharma told reporters that he's questioned the police how the supporters of the politician managed to enter the housing complex. Noida District Magistrate Suhas LY and Noida Police Chief Alok Kumar Singh went to the residential complex too and met with the residents. The DM said the Noida administration will attach Tyagi's property. Earlier, residents at Grand Omax in Noida Sector 93B, angry at the ruckus created by Tyagi supporters, also came out in large numbers and protested against the police for not taking action. In a video shot on mobile, the police standing between the residents and slogan-shouting supporters of Tyagi are also seen. Also, Mahesh Sharma is seen talking on the phone angrily, even saying he's ashamed it's their government.
आप पूछिए उनके कमिश्नर से, मैंने जब कुमार को फोन किया, जब रणविजय को, तब यहाँ पुलिस आई है, मेरे जिलाध्यक्ष हम यहाँ पर हैं, हमें शर्मिंदगी महसूस हो रही है ये कहते हुए हमारी सरकार। पता करिए उनसे कि 15 लड़के कैसे इस सोसाइटी में अपनी शोषण, इससे बड़ी शर्म की बात नहीं हो सकती। जो स्थिति बनी उस स्थिति में हमने गृह सचिव जी को, नीतीश अवस्थी जी को अवगत कराया है, पुलिस अधिकारियों को वार्न किया है कि कल ही ये घटना हुई है। इस तरह से वंचित लोगों का इस सोसाइटी के अंदर घुसना उचित नहीं था, और कहीं ना कहीं पुलिस की व्यवस्था में जो कमी रही है, उस चीज की कमी को मुझे पूरा विश्वास है। देश में कोई भी गुंडागर्दी नहीं कर पाएगा। योगी जी
48 घंटे भी पूरे होने वाले हैं,
48 घंटे का समय हमने उनसे दिया है, उसका कल तक का समय पूरा हो जाने दीजिए, तब तक हम
पीड़ित से क्या कुछ बात हुई? पुलिस से प्रोटेक्शन की बात हो रही है,
पुलिस प्रोटेक्शन हमने अभी मांग ली है, 2 घंटे के अंदर उनको पुलिस प्रोटेक्शन मिल।
All right, so Mahesh Sharma very angry over the situation there. Well, moving on and returning to our top story on Bihar, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has called a meeting of all the Janata Dal United MLAs and MPs on Tuesday, leading to speculation on his growing friction with the BJP may come to a head. Chief among the many reasons why Nitish is upset with the BJP has been the BJP-led central government's offer of token representation to allies as union ministers. And after the bitter resignation of RPC Singh, the JDU president alleged that another Chirag model was being prepared to orchestrate the downfall of the party. Well, let's go across to Manish Kumar for more on these developments in Bihar. And Manish, how serious is this friction? What is the reason being given for calling this meeting of MPs and MLAs? Or is this Nitish Kumar just trying to build pressure on the BJP to give in to his demands?
Clearly, Nitish Kumar is known for his pressure tactics, and somewhere the impression is given that he is trying his best to pressurize the BJP top leadership, which doesn't want to lose Nitish as of now, because just last week they have made it very clear that he will continue to be the face of NDA in 2024 as well as in 2025 assembly elections. But it seems that Nitish Kumar is just not pleased with the way Bihar BJP is treating him, or the central party leadership is backing them. But now the question is whether he will, go for a break, because the kind of, meetings, back-to-back meetings are taking place. It reminds one of, 2017 when, he broke away from the Mahagathbandhan and then he formed an alliance with NDA. So clearly, it doesn't seem usual, of course, because there is no assembly session in the offing. There is no other agenda except the political uncertainty which is prevailing as of now. Although the Bihar BJP leaders are confident that their central party leadership is trying its best, especially Union Home Minister Amit Shah is monitoring the situation and he is trying to salvage the situation. But at the same time, JDU leaders are giving the impression that once Nitish Kumar makes up his mind, it is very difficult to, reconsider his stand. And somewhere, now there is kind of unease in this alliance, and the way Lalan Singh, who is the National Party President of Janata Dal United, the way without naming BJP he attacked yesterday, it seems that there is some plan B in the offing. Gargi?
All right, Manish, so watching all those developments very, very closely. Thanks so much for joining us with the latest there. Now, several retired judges of the Supreme Court, High Courts, former generals and Union Home Secretaries are part of a report that has slammed the human rights situation in Kashmir, saying that Kashmir has taken a turn for the worse. The report says there has been a decline in civilian security after 3 years of LG rule, that after 3 years of the Lieutenant Governor's rule, civilian security has taken a turn for the worse. The abuse of sedition and anti-terror laws such as the UAP and PSA against activists and journalists continues. Also, the hype around the film, The Kashmir Files, have rendered panchs and pundits more vulnerable. The report recommends pay heed to the Supreme Court's stricture regarding the vicious circle of repeated arrests to free journalists and restore statehood to Jammu and Kashmir as promised. Also, vulnerable Kashmiri Pandit employees should be relocated to relatively safer locations within the valley. Time for us to slip into a short break. Coming up on the other side, how the family of Mandeep Kaur, who died by suicide in New York, is demanding justice.
Video now gone viral when the
Welcome back. Let's get you the latest from Maharashtra now. And a cabinet expansion is likely to happen this week after a series of meetings to iron out the pending issues that were holding up the move amidst wrangling over the Home Ministry and the state. Sources have indicated the expansion of the Maharashtra cabinet will take place before you can even imagine, is what Devendra Fadnavis, the Deputy Chief Minister, told reporters in New Delhi in response to questions on the induction of new ministers. Fadnavis, the Deputy Chief Minister, is now likely to get the the home portfolio, according to sources, clearing the path for cabinet expansion in Maharashtra, which has been functioning with just a two-member cabinet since June 30th, when Eknath Shinde and Devendra Fadnavis took oath as Chief Minister and Deputy Chief Minister respectively. Both the Chief Minister and Deputy Chief Minister were in the national capital over the weekend as Chief Minister attended the Niti Aayog meeting in Delhi. So finally, a cabinet expansion likely this week, as sources have told NDTV. The Home Ministry will be going to Devendra Fadnavis. There were some issues that were holding up that expansion. There's been a huge amount of criticism over the fact that Maharashtra has had no government, no cabinet in place for so long. Let's go across now to Saurabh for the latest. And Saurabh, finally, is Maharashtra going to get a cabinet this week? Because there's been a huge amount of criticism that there have been no ministers, no one to deal with all the issues, and it's the bureaucrats who are really running the show right now.
That's right. You know, what we've been given to understand from our sources is that whatever issues were pending, and this is mainly to do with the wrangling over certain key portfolios that are to be distributed, you know, amongst the BJP and also the Shiv Sena rebels who have now joined hands with the BJP to form the government in Maharashtra. So in that context, you know, the Chief Minister Eknath Shinde was in New Delhi to attend the Niti Aayog meeting, but several meetings have also taken place with Devendra Fadnavis in the national capital. What we are being given to understand now is that the pending issues that were there, that was holding up really this exercise of cabinet expansion, seem to have been resolved. In fact, Devendra Fadnavis yesterday said it will happen sooner than you can imagine. Remember, this government, the two-man government of Devendra Fadnavis and Eknath Shinde as Chief Minister with Devendra Fadnavis as Deputy Chief Minister took oath on the 30th of June. And since then, the expansion of the cabinet has been held up. It's been more than a month, in fact, for this two-man government, which has led to barbs from the opposition and also the, Uddhav Thackeray camp of the Shiv Sena. So now it seems finally that they've been able to arrive at some sort of conclusion, especially over what we are being given to understand from our sources, the Home Ministry in the state, which seem to have become a major bone of contention according to sources. But at this point, yes, what we know is that those issues have been resolved and cabinet expansion will take place definitely this week, and one presumes, or one is being given to understand, that it should be in the early part of the week.
All right, Saurabh, thanks so much for joining us with that. So Maharashtra finally set to get a cabinet this week. News now from Noida, and days after a politician abused and pushed a woman on camera at a residential complex in Noida, the man's supporters turned up yesterday evening at the housing complex, shouting slogans and asking for the address of the woman. They were finally removed, but this morning you can see bulldozers are there outside this Noida society. This is the Omax society in Noida. Now, the accused Shrikant Tyagi had claimed he was a member of the BJP's Kisan Morcha and even posted photos of himself with BJP leaders. However, the BJP has said he's not associated with them. Last night, a visibly upset Noida MP and BJP leader Mahesh Sharma had told reporters that he's questioned the police how supporters of Shrikant Tyagi managed to enter this housing complex. Yesterday, the district magistrate had also met with the residents and said they could attach Tyagi's properties, and now bulldozers are there because there is some illegal construction that Tyagi allegedly did in this complex, which is the reason for the initial fight between residents and Shrikant Tyagi. Yesterday evening, residents of the complex also there was sloganeering against the ruckus created by Tyagi supporters. The police, however, was seen standing between the residents and supporters of Tyagi, trying to calm the situation down. This morning, the administration clearly set to take some kind of action, even though Shrikant Tyagi remains on the run, so to speak, that the police claim they're searching for him but have not been able to find him. And now bulldozers have been brought to the complex. And you can see some workers are also there at the Omax Society. So the administration there taking action. This after there has been a huge amount of outrage over the manner in which Shrikant Tyagi was seen in that video, actually abusing the woman resident of that society. He even is seen pushing her on camera as well, and clearly this is an embarrassment for the administration. Shrikant Tyagi claimed to be a member of the BJP of the Kisan Morcha, but the BJP, however, denied this. And now apparently there's action taking place also at the Omax Society. The reason for this dispute that had taken place was because Shrikant Tyagi was apparently trying to encroach some commonplace area in this society. He'd planted trees and he was making some sort of illegal construction attached to his apartment here, and this is the reason for the dispute in which a woman challenged him over this, and he then abused the woman and was even seen pushing her. And since this video went viral and there were calls to take action against him, the BJP quickly distanced itself from Shrikant Tyagi. He is currently missing. However, his supporters then mobbing the society last night, actually looking for this woman in the video. So, they were asking for her, asking what her address was. The residents then were seen sloganeering and very angry. The police, instead of taking action against Shrikant Tyagi supporters, were seen intervening and in the midst of between the residents and the supporters last night. However, Noida MP Mahesh Sharma was visibly upset when he arrived there yesterday. He was seen speaking on the phone and asking for action to be taken and questioning how 15 people, men, could just, mob this society and just enter the society premises in this manner. And he even said that he was ashamed that it's his government, given, the kind of situation that was taking place at that society. Now, this morning, clearly the administration all set to take action and show that they are taking action against Shrikant Tyagi. They brought bulldozers to that complex and action will be taken against illegal construction there. We'll slip into a short break and return with more updates. Well, returning to news from Noida, and there you can see action being taken against the illegal construction made by politician Shrikant Tyagi, who was seen on video abusing a resident of this Omax housing society in Noida. He is currently on the run after that video went viral. The BJP has distanced itself from Shrikant Tyagi, who claimed to be a member of the BJP's Kisan Morcha. He'd also had many pictures posted with the BJP top leaders. However, the BJP has said he is not their leader. And now you can see action being taken against the illegal construction done by Shrikant Tyagi at this Noida complex. Last night, his supporters mobbed the housing society, demanding the address of the woman who had challenged Shrikant Tyagi and the encroachments that he had made in this housing society. So the politician, after abusing his power, he's now on the run. And the Noida administration showing that it's determined, it means business and taking action against that illegal construction. Let's go across to NDTV's Akshay for more. And Akshay, so the Noida authorities really trying to show, that they're going to take action against Shrikant Tyagi. There's been a huge amount of criticism about how he's not been found till now. The police claims it's raiding places, and this encroachment or these illegal construction was the reason for this entire dispute in the complex.
Well, Gargi, yes, this seems an action, or rather optics, by the authorities of Noida. We saw that earlier the commissioner of Noida, along with the district magistrate, had reached the Grand Omax Society where Shrikant Tyagi lives. And right now, after inspecting the place, it seems that some action is being taken as far as removing the illegal encroachment by Shrikant Tyagi is concerned. Not very significant. Now there are some construction that Shrikant Tyagi had done that was illegal, that was out of his own area of the flat that was his property. So some kind of action, and this clearly is a messaging that Shrikant Tyagi, while remains on a run, the Noida authorities won't be lax just because he claims to be from the ruling party of UP. Now the question also remains is that how come he was allowed to construct these illegal encroachments in the first place? But that is a question that needs to be answered by the authorities. The second thing that is a big question on the UP police is that so far it has been some time that the entire incident, the entire controversy in Noida's Grand Omex Society took place, where Shrikant Tyagi was seen abusing a woman. Then we saw yesterday his supporters, in fact, reaching that particular society, and so far he has not been nabbed. Now that is a big question. We have also seen that this is in fact a show by the UP government that has been boasting its own bulldozer kind of politics, bulldozer model of governance. That we have seen that whenever there have been protests, there have been rather riots in the state, the government has taken in fact pride in destroying or rather demolishing the properties of those who were found guilty in those riots and all. So now the action taken against Shrikant Tyagi is also one of the one message by the BJP that is in fact ruling the government in the state of Uttar Pradesh, that Shrikant Tyagi, despite of his claim that he is from the BJP, action will be taken against anybody who is in fact breaking the law. So that is one messaging that is coming. Whether Shrikant Tyagi will surrender, whether he will be nabbed by the police, or whether he will continue to stay on run, that remains to be seen. But from UP police, we are getting to know that there are raids being taken out in several places across the state as far as finding him is finding the accused in that entire controversy is concerned.
That's right, Akshay. In fact, our colleague Mukesh is also reporting that an SHO has been suspended now after these raids are taking place, and Shrikant Tyagi has not been found so far. And and what happened yesterday was also completely outrageous, that you had these 15 goons entering this housing society, very threateningly asking for the name and address of the woman who, they felt that she was the one who had had taken on their leader, and she's the one who was challenging him on that video, and led to this entire issue, this dispute, and it becoming such a huge story. So that too was something that was quite outrageous, and the fact that the police was seen not really taking action against those men, but they're just, the video we're playing, Akshay, on the screens, and they're just standing between the residents and the goons, and trying to calm the residents down.
Well, that is the biggest concern, in fact, Gargi. That goes on to show that what kind of fearlessness is there as far as Shrikant Tyagi and his supporters are concerned. This clearly was a threat that was made by the supporters of Shrikant Tyagi, and it couldn't have been done without him getting to know about the action that his supporters were taking. So clearly there is some role of Shrikant Tyagi in his supporters going to that society, and police not taking action immediately against those goons who were there, who were asking for the contact and the address of that lady who was abused by Shrikant Tyagi. That goes on to show that somewhere the police that was in fact in charge of providing security to that woman who already remains under threat from the supporters of Shrikant Tyagi. That goes on to show that what kind of failure was there as far as maintaining law and order is concerned, knowing that the leader of these goons was already on the run, and openly threatening of the lady clearly goes on to show that there is not just fearlessness in the supporters of Shrikant Tyagi, but they also knew that police will not be taking any action despite of them going and openly threatening a woman and asking for her details of personal details, be it contact details or address.
That's right. In fact, last night, Alok Singh, the Noida Police Commissioner, even said that we have provided security to the family, that the license of the security in the society may be cancelled, and that they're taking action against Shrikant Tyagi under the Gangster Act, and that all his illegal properties will be identified. So that's, Akshay, quite something that, the police there in Noida are saying they're going to do all this, given there's been so much outrage about Shrikant Tyagi, how he was seen on camera, abusing that woman, almost outraged that she dared to question him and his encroachments in this society, which is the reason for the dispute. He remains on the run, and that too has created a huge controversy, as there have been questions raised and whether the BJP is protecting its own, though the BJP has distanced itself from Shrikant Tyagi. And now this very visible action today, Akshay, being taken against this illegal encroachment by him in this society.
Well, absolutely, Gargi, because the Bharatiya Janata Party found itself in a spot when the entire controversy broke out. When the video, in fact, got leaked of Shrikant Tyagi, who used to claim that he was part of the Bharatiya Janata Party Kisan Morcha, and that was the reason that the BJP was being attacked by the opposition, not just in the UP, but across the country. People were questioning that how come a leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party that is not just ruling the state of UP but the center as well, how can they give space to such a goon, such a personality who was openly abusing a lady and who was openly threatening her as well. So after that, certain photos were also leaked of Shrikant Tyagi meeting the top BJP brass, and that also made Bharatiya Janata Party quite uncomfortable, and any kind of lack of action against Shrikant Tyagi certainly would have given the opposition another chance to target the Bharatiya Janata Party. So it seems that exactly is the reason that some stringent action is being taken now to send a message that Shrikant Tyagi is not being protected by the BJP.
All right, Akshay, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. So that is the big story we're tracking right now on your screens. This visual of the demolition taking place of the illegal encroachment that was constructed by Shrikant Tyagi, who lived in this society and was seen abusing a woman, another member of the society, after she challenged him over some trees that he had planted to encroach the common area, the park area of the society. And that video went viral, in which Shrikant Tyagi could be seen abusing her in a very arrogant manner, and even questioning how she dared to question him. And he was seen even pushing the woman on that video. The video went viral, leading to outrage against Shrikant Tyagi, who till then was being described as a BJP leader, a member of the BJP Kisan Morcha. However, the BJP, the ruling party of Uttar Pradesh, was quick to distance itself from Shrikant Tyagi. He has been missing since then. Several people have been questioned and even held, including his driver, and his wife too has been questioned about his whereabouts. Some of his cars have also been confiscated by the police. And this morning, after Shrikant Tyagi supporters mobbed the society and asked for the woman who was seen in that argument with him, this morning we can see that now action being taken, and the illegal encroachment made by Shrikant Tyagi in that Omak society is being removed, and with bulldozers. Remember, the bulldozers have come to symbolize part of the BJP's governance in the state. We'll slip into a short break and return with more.